the one that I have been really focusing on the past few months is staying centered, is keeping my weight over the bottom bracket. And I feel like when I remember to do that, it really unlocks a lot of the other tips that you have. I know the natural instinct for us riders is to lean back when things start to get scary.
Yes.
And that just kind of shifts everything in a negative way. And when you're centered, you know, I put a little bit of emphasis on leaning a little bit forward because I just naturally lean back. But you find yourself naturally centered on the bike, right? Or do you have something is that something that you work on?
Oh, geez, Danny. Yeah, you know, it's something that, no, I don't work on it. No, that is something that I guess instinctually I do. I will say that I try and stay centered on my bike as much as possible, but I'm also a shifty rider. Like I tend to move around on the bike a lot because I work the bike. You know, I work the bike a ton. And I totally agree about the leaning back. I think that's where all of us have kind of fallen victim to that. You know, that's the natural thing to do when you get to a feature and it's a scary feature. Your inclination is like, whoa, I want to push away. I want to push away from this. And that's like the worst thing that you can do, you know, and the reason why, the reason why it's so bad is because if you push back all the way, you've taken away all of your body suspension. And so when things go wrong and you've run out of travel on that bike and you're fully extended out, you're pushed all the way back, there's nothing else to happen except for you to go over the bars, which you and I have done a million times. Whereas if you are centered on your bike, that gives you all the mobility to get around. You know, whether you're a shifty rider or you're not a shifty rider, if you're centered on the bike, that's going to give you the most mobility to be able to maneuver out of a situation and get the best outcome possible. And I got to tell you, Danny, you are really good at staying centered on your bike. And it's if Carla wasn't proof of that, like, I don't know what is. Like you rode that slab Carla at Mount Penn. The
You have to specify each time that is a slab. You can't just call it Carla.
You rode Carla.
You rode Carla. My wife's going to be like, who is that? Oh, who's Carla?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Sage, Ixnay on the Arla-K.
Oh my God. Oh, that was so unintentional. Oh my God, that's so funny. Oh my God.
Thanks.
You rode Carla.
Thanks for blowing my cover.
Yeah.
You rode Carla. Sage, you were there. Wait a second. You were watching that? Oh, the slide.
Oh, the slide.
Yeah. Jeez. Get all these webcams out of here right now.
Yeah.
This is getting creepy. My wife's name is not Carla.
Yes. Oh my Lord. Yes. The slab Carla.
Yes.
If you were watching
Carla.
A slab called Carla. If you were watching, I will include that video, but my goodness, I don't think I've ever seen anyone ride that so cleanly.
Oh,
but
thank you.
That's just one small example, Danny. You've been just on top of your game on all of the features.
It's really just been focusing on that. It's really just been focusing on staying centered. And the one I didn't, which you're going to queue up now, is the one on the Sam Malone Extended where I went over the bars. It's not a great example because it's tough to see that I actually did get too far back. I didn't stay centered. And there's another slab that I did this on in Vietnam, in Massachusetts. There was a really big, long slab. And so what happens is, and listener, if you've ever done a longer slab and you've gotten too far back, this is what can happen. And I highly recommend that you don't do it. But you're too far back. You've lost your suspension, your arms and legs, which is what Sage was just talking about. But you're also so far back that you're unweighted. You get down to the bottom of the slab, and if there's a G out, you're going fast enough that there's a G out. Now your front wheel is unweighted, and you have no steering. So now you've lost steering. And you've lost brake control in one of your wheels, and you're going really fast. Because if you go down a slab that's fast enough to have a G out, then you're going fast at the bottom of it. Because otherwise it wouldn't be a G out; it would just be a roll. And so I went down a really big long slab, and I went way too far back, and I did lose that front wheel. I lost control, and I ended up hitting a rock, and then I went over the bars. So it's kind of like what you're most scared of ends up happening. We're just talking about this with the what vibe you're putting out, right? If you're putting out the vibe of need, you get need. I was putting out the fear of going over the bars, and I went over the bars. So
yeah, man, yeah,
it's really interesting. But God,
I was going to say we should probably explain what a G out is. So like the G out is like when you get to if the slab transition is hard. And for what I mean by that is there'll be slabs where it's just a rock down and then there's no transition point between where the slab meets the ground. And so what happens is there's this giant like thud of just force. And it is one of the most uncomfortable feelings that you will ever feel. And you'll hear a lot of mountain bikers say, you know, was there a G out? You know, I'll turn around to Dan if he rode something first. I'll be like, was there a G out? Or he'll turn around and ask me. And if it is a purposely built slab, a lot of times a builder will kind of put dirt or rocks at the bottom to kind of like take a little bit of that thud out. And when you G out, it's basically your suspension just pretty much collapses underneath you. You know, if you're using, I don't know.
It's just harsh.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I don't know if anybody else
transition from steep to level is very harsh. It's more perpendicular than you would want. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So if you're using, I don't know if anyone else does this, but like if you use the rubber bands on the shocks, like I reset that every ride. When you get a G out, you know, you'll see that rubber band pushed all the way to the top of the shock on the back and the front. Yes.
Fork,
I'm sorry.
what
did I say?
More the fork. Shock.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah. Well, I do it on both.
So the fork is usually referred to as for the front suspension, and the shock is usually referred as the rear suspension.
Yes. My mistake.
Yeah. I mean, Sage has only been riding for 20 years. I think you learned that one at 21 on the 21-year test. So the tip to stay centered is you just really think about it. Really just think about heavy feet and driving your feet through the bottom bracket. And I tend to lean a little bit forward, get my chin a little bit over the handlebar because my natural instinct is to go back so much. So if I'm going fast through technical and I'll start to notice that I'm leaning away from the bike. And so I'm consciously trying to lean a little bit more forward than I'm comfortable with. I do that on jumps also, because on jumps, I very much start to lean too far back. And that's also very dangerous. Instead of the G out, you have the landing. And now if you're too far back, you've, again, lost your arm and leg suspension, and your front wheel is way too light, and you lose control, you lose steering. So it's really dangerous. So I just try that. If you're someone that leans too far back, really think about staying centered and driving your weight straight through the bottom bracket, and then lean forward a little bit uncomfortably. Just lean a little bit forward and see what that feels like. So
I love that tip. I love that tip.
Yeah.